right? You have a lot of turnover, possibly. Kelsey may be finished.
Where I'm looking up average life expectancy. I'm dreaming at this point. Like, I can't. I'm done with the season.
What's the next evolution of Pat Mahomes? And it's weird to be talking about a guy like, what's the next evolution of Pat Mahomes, and he's not 30. You could be anywhere doing anything, but you're hanging out with us, and we appreciate that. So wherever you're listening and however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Gameplan Podcast. Alex Goodwin is my name. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. T as in tacos, S as in sangria, M as in margaritas. Kennedy Miller, my guy.
What's up, my man? How y'all doing?
Man, I'm doing all right, brother. Doing all right, Ken. Where can the folks find you on Twitter, dog?
Find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. And joining us here for this episode, the homie Lamar Gafford, SinLawPreps.com. Lamar, how you doing today, dog?
Man, I'm good. It's cold outside. My basketball team suck, but hey, there's always some good things going. So that's at least something good right now.
You said that's at least something good. All right. Don't forget, folks, follow us on the Gameplan Podcast official YouTube channel, where if you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching our official YouTube channel. Again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell 10 friends, or tell 10 more friends about the Gameplan Podcast. But guys, I said M as in margaritas. I should have said M as in messy, right? Because that's what this Lane Kiffin coaching search debacle eventually turned into. A hot, flaming mess. A hot ass mess, as one of my aunties used to say. So, Lamar Gafford, you're in Louisiana right now. You got a pulse on the people. Lamar, how the folks feeling about your brand new messy ass head coach?
They're feeling great about that messy ass head coach, actually, because they feel like that he's probably going to take them to the next level once again. He'd probably get them to get some national championships once again. I mean, look, I think the thing is, it's just been a crazy last couple of months at LSU so far. I mean, one, you get rid of Brian Kelly. Two, everything else that's been going around here and saying that the governor wants to lead the search for the head coach, by the way, because the president is no longer there. And also, in turn, the AD goes out because said governor says he wants to make the head coaching hire and everything. But, you get Lane Kiffin. In a way, it's kind of a good hire for LSU because obviously you have one of the hotter head coaches out there, but you'll also take a look at the baggage and everything that Lane Kiffin has going with it as well. That's just kind of makes it a little bit tricky and interesting and everything else like that. Alex, we were kind of talking about this earlier, and I had even mentioned this in a group chat with some guys I knew here. It's just that I felt like LSU got rid of an asshole for a slightly charming but messier jackass, if that's the way to kind of really put it like that.
Like, my thing is, like, you're talking about, like, I don't want to say this about Brian Kelly, but Brian Kelly, you know how they say somebody's a basketball player's basketball player, right? Or a rapper's rapper. Brian Kelly's an asshole's asshole, okay? Like, that's what that man is, all right? And I was just sitting here the entire time thinking, y'all, typically when you make a firing or do something like that, typically you want to go in the entirely opposite direction of the guy you just got rid of. So if you previously had an older disciplinarian guy who is a bit of, like, tough for people to get a good read on and build relationships with, you're going to go with a younger coach who's you can build relationships with in the whole 9 yards. But how you go from asshole to asshole is beyond me, right? Like, that's just the thing about this that I, Alex Goodwin, am a little bit perplexed by, right? And the reason I say that is, and Lane is just messy. Like, this whole thing has been messier than it ever needed to be. Kennedy, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's already going to be tough, and it's probably already going to get ugly when you're leaving an 11-1 program that's having its best season since desegregation to go to a conference rival and abandon that team and take half of the offensive coaching staff with you. That's already going to be difficult. But when you drag this out and turn this into some weird, like, college football version of Flavor of Love, if you know, you know. But instead of Lane Kiffin handing out clocks, what was he going to hand out a whistle? He just didn't give LSU the whistle? And not LSU, he did give Ole Miss the final whistle, right? Like, he drugged this out in a way to where it didn't have to be this messy. I watched his press conference this morning, or this afternoon rather, when he talked about there was no better way to do this. And I'm like, you are full of it. Full of it. Absolutely full of it. Because I'm like, there was absolutely a better way to do this. Like, had you shown up 3-4 weeks ago and told the Ole Miss AD, hey, yo, I think I'm probably going to step, because there are reasons why you leave Ole Miss to go to LSU. Clear reasons. Easier to win a national championship there. You have the monopoly on Power 4 talent in the state. I think over the last 10, 11 years, the state has produced more than 600 3, 4, 5-star recruits. And like we've talked about before, we've seen 2 coaches that we don't think are great coaches win national titles there. That job has an objectively higher ceiling. We get why you would do it, but you didn't have to make it this messy and make it this drawn out and this nasty. You know what I'm saying, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It wasn't the move itself was not the wrong move. It's just the way that it panned out, right? So you do this whole press conference and you do this thing and you say, well, I got to talk to Nick Saban and I got to talk to Pete Carroll. And then, Pete Carroll told me this is what my dad would have wanted me to do. Man, just say LSU was a better job. Like, you don't have to say it like that, but you just say you wanted to take the LSU job. You don't have to bring RIP. You don't have to bring your dead father into this. Okay. And then, like, I talked to God and he told me it was time for me to step out. And I think this was the best decision for me to make. I do think this is a bigger problem outside of Lane with college football and the scheduling. I think Rick Pitino tweeted about it too. Like, there's no way, he said something along the lines of like, there's no way I'm going to have an all-time team here at St. John's and then accept a job right before the tournament. Like, it's been done before. Like, people have done it. People have taken jobs before the end of the season. But like you said, they're 11-1. Like, they're not about to play just for a bowl. They're about to compete for a national championship. And that's what makes this like so unprecedented. It ain't the move. Like, everybody understands the move. $60,000. I mean, $60,000, not dollar, 60,000 population in Ole Miss Stadium. It's 60 more thousand at LSU. It is a big brother. It is a big brother. Ole Miss, for most of our lives, has not been that good outside of Hugh Freeze illegally doing things over there. Okay.
Football related or non-football related.
Right.
but fellas, but Ken, we need to slow down because I'm going to get another DM from Hugh Freeze.
That's right. That's right. Like, you alluded to it. They haven't won an SEC championship since 1963. Okay, so there is no question that was the right move. It doesn't look good with the timing. And of course, you're staying in the SEC, and the rumors about him trying to take the assistants with him. I think most of the offensive staff is leaving.
Yes,
and I think only his brother on the defensive staff is going. But I don't blame Ole Miss at all for saying, like, no, you can't coach. Like, you took the job. Congrats. Like, you've done what you did for our program. You can't coach this team now. You made the decision, Lane.
I think that's the part of this that has been irritating me, is that he's wanted to have his cake and eat it too. Like, I think people have mentioned that, well, Eric Morris and John Summer are going to coach their team to the AAC championship game, and whichever of them makes the playoff through the first round of the playoff or whatever. That's like comparing that to the Lane Kiffin situation, that's like comparing apples to chitlins. Okay? Like, it's totally different, and everybody understands clearly why that's different. North Texas is not a direct competitor with Oklahoma State. Right? Like, we all objectively get that Tulane and Florida are not competing for the same guys. We get, like, they're not conference rivals, right? Like, I think that's the huge difference. And for Lane to think you can leave a team in this situation and finish it out when you're actually the sitting head coach of a rival program, to quote Joe Clark, you smoke crack, don't you? You got to be crazy to think you can do something like that. You got to be, somebody put it, and I saw it on Twitter. They were like, this is like telling your wife and kids you're leaving for another woman in another family, but you're going to finish out the holiday season with your first wife before you move on. They were like, that's what this is like, right? I think that's the part of this with Lane that's really irritating me, Lamar, is that because he's trying to turn this around and make himself the victim. I wanted to coach the team through the playoff, but the athletic director, Keith Carter, wouldn't let me. The players wanted me to coach through the end of the season, but they wouldn't let me. And I'm like, a good way to coach your team through the playoff, Lane Kiffin? You know how you would have been able to make sure you can coach your team through the playoff? Stay at Ole Miss. Stay at Ole Miss. Like, that's how that would have worked. You know what I'm saying? And, Kennedy, we got to give credit to the American dream, Brian Kelly, for one thing. Brian Kelly never tried to pretend he wasn't an asshole. When Brian Kelly show up, you know who and what he's about. Lane Kiffin, over the last couple years, I do hot yoga now. I done stopped drinking. I'm not the man I used to be. I'm not as obnoxious. I'm not all this other stuff. But when it came down to it, who was Lane Kiffin, Lamar Gafford? The same asshole they fired on the tarmac. He's the same guy.
That's what I was going to say. Like, how many coaches do we know? This is his fifth controversial leaving/firing a job, right? The Raiders, Al Davis, right, calls him like shiesty at like 31 years old. Then you got Tennessee.
You're an embarrassment.
Yeah, you got Tennessee. They let him go. USC, the tarmac. Don't you even get back on this plane. Your bags will be ready when you find your way back to California. Then you got Bama, right? Nick Saban let him go, right? Because he didn't feel like they were prepared during that week. And then, he does this at Ole Miss. Like, you talk about reinventing yourself and then just like, it comes all the way back. And it's like, when you think about it, he's shown you who he was pretty much at every stop, except for FAU, when, he stopped drinking and all that stuff. He was trying to put his name back out there.
Lamar, I know you have chapter and verse on all the wild things that have happened in the career of Lane Kiffin. And it is crazy to think about. Lane Kiffin, his first head coaching job is when he was 31 years old in 2007 with the Raiders. Lane Kiffin has been fired from 1, 2, 3 big boy jobs. Fired. And Lamar, do you have the part, if the people don't know, can you tell the people about the time when Al Davis in the later years of his life put together a 10-point PowerPoint presentation about why he had to fire Lane Kiffin? Lamar, can you tell the people about this if they don't know?
Yeah, I mean, because looking at it on Wikipedia here, Al Davis called Kiffin a flat-out liar and said that he was guilty of bringing disgrace to the organization. The Raiders said that the move was for cause, meaning they would terminate his contract immediately without paying him $2.6 million that was left on it for 2008. Mind you, this is also a Raider team that had Jamarcus Russell sipping lean. All right. Then you also then Kiffin later added in an interview with ESPN that he was not proud to be associated with Davis's accusations and was actually more embarrassed for Davis than himself. And then Raiders subsequently released a letter that Davis sent to Kiffin on September the 12th that warned him that he was on verge of being fired for conduct detrimental to the Raiders. the Raiders, by the way, who have been known for being always the renegades of the NFL, the most penalized team of the NFL, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And so you have that. Then, of course, you have his time with Tennessee, where he starts off by basically erroneously saying that he was going to turn in Urban Meyer because some recruit came onto campus. Urban was calling him while he was on Tennessee's campus, and he was saying that I'm going to turn Florida in right then and there, only to realize here that because he said the recruit's name, that
Yes.
he got violated himself. Also, during that same time at Tennessee, he said to Alshon Jeffrey, if he goes to South Carolina, that he would be pumping gas. He would end up pumping gas for the rest of his life, like all the other players from that state who had gone to South Carolina. I know he was trying to be like Steve Spurrier, but Steve Spurrier at least had a little bit of charm in him when he was talking about Georgia, talking about Tennessee, all those other things. But saying it like that kind of makes you more of an asshole than anything. And then, of course, like you said, the tarmac with USC, I mean, to the point here that Nick Saban has to fire you before a national championship. And then now this at Ole Miss here. I mean, the only place that he probably can go back to and he'll probably be regarded as a hero, probably FAU. He might get a statue there, maybe. And then, well, at least the good thing is with him being at LSU, he'll be able to have a quarterback recruit in about a couple of years because his son's now going to be probably the quarterback at LSU in a few, which he'll probably be going to one of our top schools, Baton Rouge. I have a feeling.
Yeah, and I will say this about his whole thing, Lane's whole deal. When Lane went back to Tennessee for the first time in Lord knows how long, do y'all remember that? They were throwing golf balls at him. Now, mind you, Lane Kiffin had not been in Knoxville, Tennessee in at least almost going on 15 years. First time being back, and they were throwing golf balls and shit at him. Right? That's how infuriated people are with that man. Lane Kiffin was talking about today how they were running him off. Someone tried to run him off the road and the whole thing. What's the other part? And he was jarred by what he saw and heard on his way to the airport to leave. Like, I don't know if if some people out there, y'all saw this. Like when Lane Kiffin is leaving from the Oxford airport, there's a crowd outside the gate and they yelling, screaming, cussing, flipping the bird. Some woman brought her baby. This is a newborn to the airport, right? So she can Lane Kiffin on his way out of town, right? That's the part of this that's hilarious. Somebody said them folks in Mississippi ain't been this mad since the Emancipation Proclamation. Okay, they said they ain't been this mad since when they tried to integrate Ole Miss with James Meredith. Them people are hot, I tell you. And wait, hold on. Doesn't LSU go to Ole Miss next year?
Yes.
Oh.
We're going to be watching the Magnolia Bowl this year.
Oh boy. They might as well put that on pay-per-view because that is You know how sometimes recently we've been watching the Eagles games and after every bad Eagles play, they cut the crowd mic on and all you hear is, "Wow!" Right? That's all you hear. I don't even want to hear Kirk Herbstreit. I don't want to hear Chris Fowler. I don't want to hear Joe Tessitore. We can watch. We don't need no play-by-play, no nothing. Just let me put mics in the crowd and let me hear what the folks in Oxford are saying. That's what will bring me joy. Because what do you think? I don't know what they're going to throw on the field at that man. I don't know what. If they were throwing golf ball, they're going to have to check people's bags for a gun. Seriously. If someone willing to show up at the airport with a baby that likely needed to be changed to tell you what they thought as you were boarding the flight out of town, what you think they're going to do with 8-9 months of preparation.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna be able to throw those sticks that they tried to ban having in Ole Miss Stadium.
Yeah. Oh, Ken, did you hear about this? The sticks?
No.
Okay, so Ken, previously at Ole Miss games, they used to fly the Confederate flag, but not like people didn't used to bring like the big Confederate flags in there. They used to bring the little, the little mini ones they pass out.
Yes.
They used to fly those in the stadium, right? And so the big thing was like Tommy Tuberville, when he was a coach there, he was like, hey, yo, this is really not helping the recruiting effort with the black players, right? It's bad enough for the Ole Miss Rebels.
Right.
And we got Colonel Reb on the sideline. That's bad enough. But then y'all over here flying a Confederate flag. And so what they did, because again, they tried to ask, like, hey, could y'all please stop flying Confederate flags at the game? No. So what they did was they banned the sticks, right? So you couldn't bring the sticks in, right? So you can't bring the stick in, can't bring the flag in. Can't bring the little mini Confederate flag in, right? They might do a quick wand through and let them people bring them sticks in. They might act like strip club security or some of them hole in the wall. They're looking to him. Gone in. Thank you. They, like, when we talk about, I always say schedule releases are a waste of time. They really are a waste of time. But I'm going to put it on my calendar for when Ole Miss plays LSU next year. That is going to be appointment viewing.
That's going to be must.
God, they hate that man so much. And I don't know about you, Ken. I feel like it didn't have to be this way. Like, not like,
of
of course they was going to be mad you left, right? And that wasn't never going to feel good. But, like, you ain't have to drag this out and then try to tell the athletic director, if you don't let me coach through the rest of the season, I'm going to take half the offensive staff and some players too, immediately. You can't do that and then try to turn around and play the victim. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I absolutely agree. I think that's why I question, like, where he was trying to go, because I think he does in some way kind of like embrace this like college football villain. But then, like, you try and like spin it like, oh, well, I just want to coach, and God told me to do this and all this stuff. Like man, just if that's what you want to be, embrace it. Because he's always on Twitter, he's trolling and doing all this. Embrace it. People gonna be upset. It's gonna be what it is. But just be you. Just like when we said the Brian Kelly thing. When you came in, you tried to fake this accent in the gym. We knew it clear as day. We knew it clear as day. You might as well just be yourself. And some people not going to like you. Some people might.
You know what that's making me think about? You know what Lane Kiffin really reminds me of, guys, at this point? He's a good heel in wrestling.
Yes. That's
right.
Yes. College
like
football.
Lane
He's
Kiffin,
college football's heel.
You know who he really is now that I'm thinking about it? You know who Lane Kiffin is? JBL. Lane Kiffin is JBL. Right?
JBL
John Brad, not when he was APA with Ron Simmons. I'm talking about when he became, the aristocrat. He throwing money from the sky, whatever. And he had Orlando Jordan and the Basham brothers and the whole deal.
JBL was a really good heel.
JBL was phenomenal. One thing JBL ain't never tried to do was act like he wasn't who he was, though. Like,
Exactly.
I'm a terrible person and I'm shysty and I do X, Y, and Z, but I really have a heart of gold and I'm really trying to do better. He ain't do that, right?
Mm-mm.
He was just hitting people with brass knuckles, hitting people with that clothesline from hell, and then making money rain from the ceiling, right?
Yes.
When he tore up John Cena's U.S. title, the spinner, when he put that joint in the trash can and he bombed it, right? He wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I just really didn't want to do this, but I've been going to hot yoga and doing all these other different things and I'm trying to be better. No, he just pressed a button and detonated it. Lane Kiffin is JBL. Be JBL. Like, lean in. You not John Cena. Stop trying to act like you John Cena. You Bradshaw. Be Bradshaw,
Totally.
Lane Kiffin. Just be Bradshaw.
And here's the crazy thing, man. Like, I remember one of the troll jobs that he did when LSU hired Brian Kelly, that a lot of the rumors were that they were going to try to get LSU was going to try to get Lane Kiffin even back then. And I think somebody had mentioned, I think he had put a map or something else like that of him going to Baton Rouge or something, and then just rescinded it at that point in time. So, how the things have changed, by the way. And by the way, his departure from Ole Miss does kind of remind me of his departure from Tennessee, where here's the other thing that I also see on Wikipedia. Hundreds of students rioted on campus at the news of campus departure. Knoxville police and fire department were brought in after students blocked the exit from Neyland Thompson Sports Center and started several small fires. That looks like a walk in the park compared to Ole Miss.
This is what the kind of emotions this man engenders from people. This is what he does to people. This right here. And I do want to say this. Given the fact that LSU had the governor, and I'll just say this, the governor tried to step in and try to say, we ain't going to pay these crazy buyouts. We ain't going to pay these ridiculous contracts. They just gave Lane Kiffin a bigger contract than they gave Brian Kelly. And Lane Kiffin's buyout does not come with an offset or with a clause that he has to go look for work if they have to fire him. And they're going to pay Lane Kiffin the bonuses he would have gotten as if he was still the head coach of Ole Miss. $100 million.
$145 million for two coaches. And I have a feeling that some parts taxpayer money is also going to be thrown into this thing. And so, as I kind of mentioned before, I feel like I deserve to call at least a play, not just saying when they play against Ole Miss, but probably when they play against McNeese. I deserve to call a play, or they should just LSU should just do a raffle or something else like that and say, step right up. You get one play and one play only here. You get a chance to call whatever play you want to do against McNeese. I don't care if it's offense or defense or whatever.
Hey, I'm just gonna say this though. Oh, I forgot. They're still paying Ed Ogeron too. They're paying 3 head coaches right now. They worse than the Cleveland Browns, who right now they paying Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders,
Deshaun Watson.
the nasty man Deshaun Watson. They paying all kinds of people. You know what I'm talking about? My thing, honestly, my thing with Lane is gonna be this, right? This is going to end badly. This is going to end badly because we've seen how just about every other stop this has ended poorly with him. LSU just fired a coach for being a jackass. LSU just tried not to pay the American Dream Brian Kelly his money. And for the first time in my life, I was team Brian Kelly, right? I am not a fan of you agreeing to pay me my money, agreeing to the contract, and then you breaching the contract just because you decided now you don't want to pay me my money. Because they tried to come up with some whack reason to try to fire Brian Kelly and not pay him his money. So the American Dream, Brian Kelly got him some attorneys and he sued. And now LSU was like, all right, you're right. We owe you your money. So they're going to pay Brian Kelly the full $54 million. Anybody who's watching that on the outside and is like, yeah, I want that. It has to be crazy. Like in my head, right? Like I would see that and be like, there's no way in hell I'm taking that job. Because for me personally, if you're going to try to gyp this dude out of his money, what's stopping you from doing that to me? Well, okay, I do know. Winning more and not being a jerk. But you brought in another jerk. So at some point, this is like a relationship where you both know that like this is toxic. This is not healthy, right? There are going to be some highs. There are going to be some lows. And when it's over, it's going to be over and it's going to be nasty. Like all you're going to hear likely is that Jasmine Sullivan joint, I bust the windows out your car. It's going to be that kind of toxic and nasty. They going to run Lane out of there, out of Baton Rouge in 4 or 5 years in a similar way they was cussing him in Tennessee and they was cussing him in Oxford. Mark my words.
More than likely, or I'll even add another log to the fire. What's going to stop him from having wandering eyes at another bigger and better job?
In the league or like in the NFL or just college?
Either both. Now, I get it. There's not that many jobs that are probably better than LSU at this point, unless, let's say, Notre Dame. But, I mean, we're not getting rid of Marcus. But let's just say somebody in the NFL decides to say, "Hey, let's take our chances at what's his name, right? At Lane Kiffin. Let's say the Saints or something else like that. Let's say it doesn't work out with Kellen Moore. What's going to stop him? What's going to stop Lane Kiffin from probably having wandering eyes at the Saints job and saying, you know what, I can fix those.
I think that's fair. One thing I got to ask you guys before we get out of here, well, before we move on to our next topic, the college football playoff and what happens with this Ole Miss season. Because, guys, I have a hot take. After all this has happened, I don't think Ole Miss should be in the playoff. After, 2-3 years ago, Jordan Travis breaks his leg. They turn Tate Rodemaker and Brock Glenn, and it falls apart. Florida State ends up being an undefeated team, but they leave them out of the playoff. And the playoffs logic, the committee's logic was, this isn't the same team that went 12. This isn't the same team that won those first 10 games. This is not with these backup quarterbacks. This is not objectively one of the 4 best teams. That's why we left them out of the playoff. Now, again, I don't inherently agree with the logic there, because it's like, if Patrick Mahomes breaks his leg, they don't take the Kansas City Chiefs out of the playoffs just because they now got to start Carson Wentz or whoever it is, right? But if that's going to be your logic, then can we apply that same sort of logic when a team loses its head coach, offensive coordinator, co-offensive coordinator, receivers coach, and its offensive line coach? Because I would argue this is a totally different team than the one that took the field against Mississippi State. That's going to be a totally different team than the one that beat LSU several months ago. Like, this can look, I think, night and day different offensively. And without Lane Kiffin, without those guys who put together that offense, is this a playoff team with this much turmoil? Or am I tripping?
Nah, you're not tripping. I think that's a fair take, especially given the example of Jordan Travis. Of course, I think they'll still put him in, because especially how it went down, we want to give the kids an opportunity. They're going to want to give the kids an opportunity to compete. But if the basis is this is not the same regular season team that won, you can make the argument that they're impacted more than Jordan Travis going down, just because of all the coaches that are gone, right? Not just your head coach, but all these coordinators, especially on the offensive side of the ball, which they excelled on. So, yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but I think that's a great point. It's something to think about. Is this team without Lane Kiffin and those coordinators, are they still one of the best 12 teams in the country? Probably not.
Lamar?
I would totally agree on that. I mean, I think you have to have some consistency at that point where, like you said, you have a Florida State team that if everything was still going well that year, that I still felt like deserved the shot to even, make it down there to the playoff that year when there was 4. I mean, I was rooting for them to make it to the playoff, but unfortunately, they took it out of them in that case. So I feel like that you should have some consistency at that point. They're going to miss a significant part of what made that team great. In the case here, their head coach. So I would feel like Ole Miss probably there should be at least a discussion here about, okay, are they good enough? Are they still able to make it here or not? And I probably wouldn't put it in. I would love nothing more than maybe Vanderbilt to take that spot, like to have the Vanderpimp out there dancing on Ole Miss's grave.
Whoa! Hold on. The what?
The Vanderpimp.
Who is that?
Wow.
Have y'all seen the SEC shorts?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so there is the white guy that portrays a lot of the teams on there, like Texas and Tennessee and everything. Well, when Vanderbilt beat Alabama that year, and since Vanderbilt has been pretty good, he has been dressing up like a pimp. Like he had like a robe, like a king's robe and everything, and a crown and everything else like that, and basically doing the dances and everything else like that to some 70s music. And it's kind of like Vanderbilt, they're out here pimping now and everything else like that.
Look, at first I was like, wait, hold on. We are not going to use these negative stereotypes to talk about Diego Pavia. Okay, we are not going to do this. He has had a rough enough week. Damn it. Okay, I'm like, wait, hold on. Wait just a minute. Lamar, I was about to come out like Teddy Long. Hold on a minute, player. Just a minute. So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, and this goes to the next thing we're going to kind of talk about, right? Given that we're in the last, it's conference championship week, and now people out here politicking, doing the whole thing. Here's why my team should make the playoffs. I've heard the coach from Mario Cristobal, Steve Sarkisian, and one other say it would be a disservice to the sport if my team was left out of the playoff. And so specifically to talk through Texas just beat the previously undefeated Texas A&M, keeping them out of the SEC title game and likely preventing them from having a first round bye. I think that gives Texas 3 top 10 wins, 2 of which by more than 2 possessions. 9-3, non-conference champion with a bad loss to Georgia. Ken, does Texas deserve to be in the playoff?
The fan in me, I'm going to say yes. I do. I think Steve Sarkisian made a great point. It's the first time this has been done since the 2019 LSU team. To beat 3 top 10 teams in a year, and then, like you said, 2 of them fairly convincingly. If they don't get in, then it harkens back to then now I'm going to really be careful on who I schedule in non-conference, because you can't be upset at me because I went to Ohio State in Columbus in week 1 and got a loss. Now I know we're gonna talk about the Florida loss is the one that really hurts them, right? They should not have lost to Florida. They should not have went into overtime against Kentucky, who just fired Mark Stoops, right? Those are the games that they shouldn't have had. But if we're looking at the 3 losses, they lost to Ohio State, they lost to Florida, and they lost to Georgia. What stops them from saying, okay, well, we'll just schedule North Texas next year, or we'll just put North Texas on the schedule now. Prairie View A&M, as our guy Legend would say.
Yes.
What stops us from scheduling them so that we can rack up all these wins and then just duke it out in conference play just like we used to? I think they deserve a shot because I think, and this is my last point, I think they are one of the 12 best teams in the country.
I feel the way about this Texas thing as I did several years ago with Alabama not making the 14 playoff the year that TCU went all the way and then got blasted by Georgia. I think roster-wise, talent-wise, Texas has easily one of the 12 best teams in America. Now, has Texas proven that on the field week in, week out? No. Objectively, no. And I say that because this team is a lot closer to 7-5 or 6-6 than it is to 11-1 or 12-0. A lot closer, right? That Mississippi State game, right? Great Ryan Niblett return. Terrible late game management by Jeff Lebby, by the way, right? Kentucky, terrible late game, you could call it play calling by Kentucky, deciding to run the same play that you got stonewalled on the play before you're going to run it again and get stuffed again, right? Went to overtime with 2 teams that I think both finished sub 500, right? You lost in a really bad way to Florida, right? Which is why, for me, Sark's arguing about, well, maybe we just won't schedule Ohio State. If we didn't schedule that game and play one of the Sisters of the Poor, this wouldn't be a conversation. No, Sark, it wouldn't be a conversation had we not lost to Florida. Not lost to a Florida team that was going to fire their coach a couple of weeks later. A Florida team that we left for dead.
Can't do it.
Hell no. Got me cussing like Jameis Winston was on that show, right? Hell no. Right? That Florida loss, and when it happened, Kennedy Miller, you probably can go back to our text thread. I told you, if Texas figures out a way to make a run late in the season, that is the game that is going to be the decider. You cannot lose that game. And I'll say this, I really like Florida's roster. I thought Florida's going to be better than they ultimately were just because, given the nuts and bolts of their roster, they gave Georgia a ball game. Right? Like they got some really good players. They got the nuts and bolts of a really good team. We'll see if Summerall can keep that team together. But these are games you cannot lose, right? He talks about the Ohio State game, right? Well, maybe we won't just schedule Ohio State. Maybe we should have beat them, right?
We should have.
Ohio State only crossed the 50 twice against Texas. Twice. And you found a way to lose that game. Outgained them by more than 200 yards. That's a ball game you should win, right? Like, at a certain point, I don't want us to be rewarding people for losing close, right? For me, both the Ohio State loss isn't indefensible, right? The Georgia loss, the way they lost at Georgia and the way they lost at Florida are both losses that by themselves are disqualifying, like could be disqualifying alone by themselves, right? Like if they had one of those losses and not the other, one of those can be disqualifying. They have both of those in addition to the Ohio State loss, right? Now, the argument is, hey, we've got three top 10 wins, two of which came against teams that are going to be in the playoffs by double digits.
Yep.
Right? They beat you ultimately fairly comfortably. They controlled the second half of that A&M game. Controlled it. Right? And again, must I say about A&M, I've been telling folks all year them boys fugazi. I've been telling folks all year them boys funny in the light, man. Going into the A&M game, I think A&M's conference opponents were a combined 11-41, like very much like Ole Miss. Ole Miss, which only played one real deal conference game against a team that we thought was like a real deal contender by the end of it, which was Georgia. They had a 9-point lead in the fourth quarter and they lost. A&M played Notre Dame, and then their only other real deal ball game was Texas. So, right. So for me, I would say I don't think Texas is one of the 12 best teams, as much as it hurts me to say. I don't think this Texas team deserves to be in the playoff. I think at a certain point, you got to win one of those three games you lost. Preferably Florida. Preferably. Like if you got to lose 2 ball games, you can lose to Ohio State, you can lose to Georgia. That Florida loss to a 4-8 team that was about to fire their coach a couple weeks later, fencible. ReliaQuest Bowl, Texas Bowl. More?
Yeah, that you do make some good points there about it. Even though that they are knocking on that door, and that A&M win should give them some credence there, and possibly making them in and everything else like that. And they do have the head-to-head between them and Vanderbilt. I mean, like you said, you can't lose that game against Ohio State. You can't lose that game against Florida. They waited a little bit of a long time to kind of get things rolling for them. And if they had been more consistent at the start of the season, you probably could have a different argument there. Now, like you said, the good thing is you're playing your best ball at a great point in time of the season, and that's a good part of the reason why we're having this discussion right now. But in some cases, you have to have it all the way through in this case when there's so many spots there at a premium. Like you can't be like whatever the ACC is doing right now, and basically we have a new, team that's probably leading the ACC because I guess the team doesn't want it, right? At this stretch, you have to be a little bit more consistent. That's the reason why you see Alabama there. That's the reason why you see Ohio State and Indiana, who have been the best teams this season, front end and front out, because every single game they've taken care of business. They've kicked the doors down. They kick teeth in at this point. And even when they face against each other, nobody's going to have the discussion of where either one of those teams or is the loser of this game going to have a bye, because those teams have had the full body of work and everything else like that. So it's going to be interesting. I know they're going to be sweating it once we get into the selection Sunday next week. But yeah, I think at this point, unless you're kicking out Ole Miss, you're probably not going. You may not see Texas in.
3-loss Alabama. if Alabama drops the SEC title game to Georgia, and that's the crazy thing. Alabama is a lot like Texas in the way they have an inexplicably bad loss to a team from Florida that is not going to a bowl game. That Florida game, like that Florida State game, first week of the season, it's almost like it never happened. Like we don't even talk. Like I think about what once we got into October, we didn't even talk about that game no more. It's like that game didn't happen, right? Like once they beat Georgia, had a rough first week. We don't even talk about it, right? So I think you can have a rough game at this point because I think the leagues are so, especially the Big Ten and the SEC, they're so stacked and they're so heavy. The idea of an undefeated, at least in theory, especially in the SEC, the idea of you're going to be an undefeated conference champion, no. You're going to lose a game, possibly 2 per year. Like that's just what it's going to be, right? But again, depending on the scheduling of it all, like some teams can slide by with an 11-1, and we're not really sure how like battle tested and how great they actually are. But I'm gonna ask you this: Alabama loses a third game on Saturday. If they lose the SEC title game, do you think they deserve to be in? Do you slide a BYU in? Do you slide a Miami in? Do you slide a Texas in under the argument of they have 3 losses? I'm just throwing it out there. Because if everybody's
I mean,
if
it's a
3
good
loss
question.
team can't make it.
Because doesn't BYU play for a championship this weekend? Don't they play for the Big 12 championship this weekend?
Against Texas Tech?
They're playing Tech, and Tech gonna kick their ass. Like,
Yep.
I feel real confident Tech gonna wear them boys out.
Yeah, because Tech has won, every game by like double digits, I want to say, or something like that?
I think they lost 1 ball game to Arizona State, and I think that was a game the quarterback was
Yes,
out.
they did. But I think every game they've won has been by double digits. That's a good question. That is a good question, Alex. If Alabama loses, I think it's up for debate. I think it is up for debate. You know, I was watching somebody and they proposed an idea of like the college football playoff having like a play-in to determine teams to get in instead of like the committee choosing and it being subjective. And I think I would be more, because somebody is going to feel like they got the short end of the stick. It happens every year with 4 teams, with 12 teams, if they extend it, and at first it was, how we talked about with Bama and TCU and Baylor. Now we're talking about 3 teams that feel like, or 3 lost teams that feel like they have a shot to get in. And if they extend it again, then what are we going to be talking about? Teams with 5 losses that feel like they should have a
4.
chance
We're
to
gonna be
compete?
talking about teams that are like 8-4. We're gonna be, it's like I think you do make a fair point, right? That no matter how much, whatever the cutoff number is, the team that's right outside that number is gonna be upset. When it was a 14 playoff, team 5 was upset. That's a 12-team playoff, team 13 is upset. You go to 16, team number 17, who got left out, is gonna be upset. There's not gonna be anyone happy. And I don't know, for me, it's almost like there's no good way to do this when there's 136 FBS teams with vastly different allocations of talent, resources, right? Like, how do you fairly match
Right.
some of these teams up? How do you match, like,
I mean,
is
even if there's
11-1 the big
128 teams, I mean, FIU and Akron are going to be upset because they feel like who's the best 2-10 team out there, and they deserve to be in the playoff.
Yeah, like, right. Because I'm like, is an 11-1 BYU as good as, like, better than a 9-3 Texas, given BYU has only played up to this point 1 ranked opponent, and that was TCU. They're gonna, excuse me, not TCU, it's Texas Tech. They've played 1 ranked opponent, and they're gonna play Texas Tech again on Saturday. That's the only ranked opponent they've played all year, right? Like, is that the exact same? Excuse me, 2 ranked games. Played Utah, number 23 ranked Utah as well, right? They've played 2 ranked games, right? Is that the same as a Georgia schedule or Alabama schedule or a Texas schedule, right? Or, the schedule Oregon or Indiana played? Is that the same? Right? I don't think that it is, right? And I saw this recently. Someone said it's not a playoff if you can lobby your way in, right? if you can politic and lobby your way into the playoff, it's not a real playoff. This is a television show. You know what I'm saying?
True. That's a good point. It's a good point.
We'll see how it all plays out. We're gonna have an interesting, I feel like, several days, several weeks. One of the teams that has a shot at making the CFP, Kennedy Miller, both of our alma mater. You went there for undergrad. I went there for my PhD. The North Texas Mean Green.
Go Mean
Greatest
Green,
season.
baby. Go Mean Green.
Hey man, was it the Claw? Is it the Claw? Ken, that's what it is?
That's it.
Oh, see,
That's it.
I ain't never know. They finally done put a defense. Them boys have finally put a defense together, and like this is the best season they have ever had. First time being ranked since since like before the I Have a Dream speech.
I mean, who would have thought when we were talking about the teams from the Dallas metro area that UNC would be the one that would be in the CFP when everybody's been talking about SMU? Who would have thought that?
I love it.
Hey, look, think about it. There could be a playoff with Texas Tech, Texas A&M, and North Texas, and not Texas, not the flagship. Like, what kind of dystopian NCAA 26, but you up in the year 2060?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? This is a wild type of situation, a wild thing. Shout out to the Mean Green. Hope them boys get it done. All right. We're going to wrap this bad boy up. We're going to pick some games, fellas. Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to start off first. We're going to let Kennedy Miller be Mr. Glass half full. Because I know you're ready, Kennedy Miller. You're back on the narcotic. This ain't even heroin for you. I think the Dallas Cowboys for you have graduated from heroin and coke to PCP. That's what I think this is for you, Kennedy Miller. Right? You're on that butt naked. Okay, you start sweating. You got to look. It's a good high. You start sweating, take all your clothes off. You want to fight the whole club, and then you want to pick up your car, right? That's what that Dallas Cowboys. That's what that wet is doing to you, Kennedy Miller. They play the Lions Thursday night in the Motor City. Kennedy Miller, show us your elbow. Talk to us.
What did Denzel say on Flight? I'm drunk right now, Alex. These Cowboys have me feeling like I'm high right now. Besides the Houston Texans, we are the hottest team in the league. Like, I think this is maybe the best 3-week stretch of Cowboys football of my lifetime. Forget the Raiders. We beat both teams that were in the Super Bowl last year in a span of 4 days. We are now starting to get healthier, right? So everybody had made this big deal about the Quinnen Williams trade, which it was a great trade. But that bye week also allowed us to get Overshown back. It allowed us to get our young corner, Sharon Revel. He finally starts playing. Donovan Wilson was out for a while. He came back. So, and then we got the Logan Wilson guy. So we ended up getting like 5 guys that played minutes on our defense back. And so now, I mean, it ain't great, but it's not
even good.
It's not a situation. Well, wait a minute. It ain't bad. It's not great. It's not a situation
gave up
where
28 points.
Well, you gonna give up 28 points to Pat Mahomes?
They give up 28 points to everybody.
But they gave up 21 points in the first quarter to the Eagles, and what happened? They had 8 straight punts.
Look, we all know the Philadelphia Eagles are. Look, Shamar Moore and company are falling apart, right? Like, I don't know how much of that is the Eagles or the Cowboys. Like, I would say, like, me personally, that's much more of the Eagles just being cheeked up on offense. The Eagles' offense right now, them boys is V-Live on a Sunday night, ass everywhere. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying.
You're right. You're right. Fair enough.
The line, I think we beat the Lions. Like, the Lions haven't looked good lately, and I think it's a must-win game for both teams. It's a must-win game for both teams. I think we beat them. And I let me say this, because I'm feeling high right now. I don't think we're gonna make the playoffs. Clip this actually, because I want this to be seen. I don't think we're gonna make the playoffs. If we do make the playoffs, we're going to the NFC Championship. You can clip it
We
right
heard
now.
it here first.
You heard it here first. I don't think we'll make it. I think eventually that the Panthers loss and the Cardinals loss are too much to overcome. However, you just said it. Philadelphia is imploding. Philadelphia is imploding. And if they get themselves in a situation where if we beat Detroit and they lose to like the Chargers, they still play the Commanders twice. If they drop one of those games, oh, they're done. They're done. Because I don't think we'll get a wild card spot. The only path I think will be us winning the division.
Which requires the Eagles to, I mean, mind you, we've seen a Nick Sirianni team come
That's what I'm saying. We
apart.
saw it like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. 2 years ago. And Ken, Lamar, I think I was talking to y'all both at separate times. And I was like, this feels like 2023 all over again. These boys about to fall apart. And sure enough, they look bad. They
Every
look
other
so
year.
bad.
Every other
And it's
year, because
really
Jalen Hurts gets a new offensive coordinator every year. He
Yeah.
had Kellen Moore, it worked. He had old buddy, it did not work. Who did they bring it? The year they had Shane Steichen, it worked. Now they got this Petula dude, it ain't working.
And they're the type of offense. They have way too many good players to
Yes, they
be
do.
like completely like this offense looks it's unwatchable at this point. They have way too many good players, right? And it feels like sometimes they're trying to get AJ Brown the ball. Sometimes it feels like it's not in rhythm. It feels like they're just throwing the ball just to throw it to him. They hitting him with here, damn.
I was just
Right.
about to I was just about to say that. Take the ball.
Take the damn thing. That's how that's what it looks like. And it's like Saquon Barkley looks like he's got running with a fridge on his back, right? He looks like a dude that had 250 odd touches last year. That offensive line is banged up, right? Also, what possibly might have sapped Saquon Barkley's powers is when he decided he wanted to summon the spirit of Herschel Walker. That also might be what's going on there as well. I'm not too sure. But I know Jalen Hurts' Overton from Living Single looking ass is not having a good time.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
not having a good time.
I mean, like I said, they don't have a bad schedule, but they got some games that they can drop. And if the Cowboys beat the Lions on Thursday, they play, and this is not in any order, but I know they play the Vikings. They still got to play the Commanders, the Giants, and I believe they play the Chargers too.
Mm-hmm.
If they go 10-6-1, that could be enough to get them in. If they run the table, they're definitely getting in. If they win 11 games, they're definitely getting in. But if they go 10-6-1, that could be enough to get them in.
And Philly just has to drop. I would say Philadelphia would have to just drop literally 5 of the last 6.
Yeah, and then I mean, you look at
this one on the board.
You look at the Bears, Lions, Packers, right, that are all above us. Well, like the Bears play the Packers twice. They play the 49ers. They play the Lions. The Lions play the Rams, Steelers, Vikings, Bears, right? The Seahawks play the 49ers, Panthers, Rams. Like, they're all going to be playing against each other. So, like, all those teams not going to get to 11 wins. And so, if you can get to a 10-6-1 and some things happen your way, if the Cowboys sneak in, you and I both know, we talked about this before, momentum is a crazy thing in sports. And in football, the best team does not always win. It's not a 7-game series. It's who's hot at the right time.
Hey, Lamar, you know what I hear with Kennedy? You know how they say some people, like, you got ADHD, you take your medication, all of a sudden you cleaning up the whole house, doing all this other stuff. Like, you just, when Kennedy Miller get high on that, Kennedy Miller know who they about to play. He know who their opponent's about to play. Like, Kennedy Miller can talk himself into some crazy things. Kennedy Miller just promised me this. I don't know if there's a Dallas Cowboys version of Maxi Kleber on the roster, but I don't know if they have one of those. But if you come in here and somebody gets hurt, you're like, oh no, man, we've got CJ Goodwin. Right? That might be the Maxi Kleber.
I
So
ain't
hold
got
on.
I ain't got no secret weapons for the Cowboys. Ryan Florner, though, the receiver. Watch out.
Yes, you do
There
have a
you
Maxi
go.
Kleber. Yes,
Wait,
you
hey,
do.
watch out. That dude plays hard, man. He plays hard. He needs some more time. Shout out to Brian Shot Time. What's the next game, Alex? What's the next game? I was talking.
I was a kid. This is your Max. You just when you said I don't have a secret weapon, and then you go Ryan Flanoy. All right. We gonna do really one more before we get out of here, folks, because Bears, the number 1 seed, Chicago Bears,
Crazy.
traveling to the frozen tundra, Lambeau, Lamar Gafford. Who you got, dog?
Man, I still gotta think Green Bay has it, even though they're not looking. They haven't been really. You want more from them. You want more from them, but I still think that this is going to be the biggest test here for the Chicago Bears of
Yes.
all, because right now you have that number 1 seed. Everybody is now gunning for you. And so how is this kind of a youngish team? How do they handle that? How do they handle this right here? And now you got to go up on the road against a hated rival that you played for a long time there. You did beat them last year, kind of, though, when it did not really count in a Week 18 ball game. But the stakes are a little bit different here. The stakes are a little bit different. That's the reason why I'm just going to go ahead and say I think Green Bay has this one.
Ken?
I think Green Bay is going to win as well. I do want to give love to the Bears, though, because you said it about the Packers. I kind of feel the same way about the Bears. Like they've overachieved, but I feel like they're still, like, Caleb Williams can still play better. Like, that dude's not even completing 60% of his passes. And, like, you'll see, like, he'll make one pass, and you're like, that's a Heisman Trophy winner. That's the number 1 overall pick. And then he overthrows an out route, right? Or, like, he can't make the layups. He can't make the layup passes. And what I saw from them last week against Philadelphia, because I was actually kind of rooting for Philadelphia. It would have helped us more had Philadelphia beat them. They bullied them. And we talk about the problems that Philadelphia has on offense. We could talk about that all day. Them dudes ran for over 200 yards. Like, they looked like a December team. Like, it's cold outside. We're going to run the ball, and we're going to keep doing it until you stop it. And I was like, man, like, these dudes look like, I thought they were like a year away. Like, it's wide open, though. Like you said, they're the number 1 seed right now in the NFC. The road would go through Chicago if it started right now. I do think they'll split these 2 games with Green Bay, though. And I think Green Bay is going to win this one coming up.
I'm so impressed with Ben Johnson, right? And I think the biggest thing that they did, I think going into that year when they drafted Caleb Williams, they went and got Rome Odunze. They already had DJ Moore on the roster, a few other things.
Keenan Allen.
Keenan, right? They made those moves to get him receivers. Signed DeAndre Swift. But I was like, okay, but do you have people that can block for these guys? Like, all of these skills, like, you have a great team that'll be phenomenal in like 7-on-7. But like, in terms of playing like real deal 11-man football, physical NFL football, y'all don't have the guys up front. And they went and got the guys up front. Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson. I think they drafted a tackle, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they went and got the guys. And because if we remember, the whole way this thing worked in Detroit with like the Fighting Dan Campbells is they show up day in, day out. And I said, it's like what Day said about Baby D and Friday. This gonna get physical. This gonna be real physical, right? That's the way this whole thing with Detroit works. And what I saw out of Chicago is like porting that formula over. This is going to be big, this is going to be violent, and this is going to be physical. Put your mouthpieces in and buckle up your chin straps, because this is going to be a physical 60 minutes. You're going to feel it after you get done playing the Bears, right? That being said, it's hard for me to let go of like the potential of Jordan. like watching that dude play, and you see these huge flashes, right? And really, honestly, compare him to a former Packer, Brett Favre. Like, that's what a lot of this really feels like you're watching here, right? I'm going with the Packers at home. I think the Packers play the run really well. I saw what they did against Jahmyr Gibbs, right? What they've done twice to Jahmyr Gibbs, right? It was impressive, right? They've got the guys, they've got the horses up front to deal with the Bears. Now, as I say that, the Philadelphia Eagles got the horses up front too.
Exactly.
Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and them boys, and it didn't do them near a bit of good, right? But I'm gonna say this is one of those games. I think the Packers have got to start putting like really good games together consecutively. So I'm gonna go with the Packers on this one. If we got time for one more, guys, let's do one more. Texans at the Chiefs Sunday night.
Woo!
I'm going with the Texans.
I'm going with the Texans.
I'm going with
I think my Cowboys just put Pat Mahomes out the playoff. I think they effectively ended his season right there.
Lamar.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Texans in this one. I think they've been the hot team, and it seems like something's wrong with Kansas City right now. Just something's wrong with Kansas City. So give me Houston.
All right. And that is another episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Kennedy Miller, my guy.
Always a pleasure, fellas. Always.
Where can the folks find you on the artist formerly known as Twitter, my brother?
They're going to be looking for me this week after that take. I know it. Find me on Twitter at _ Kennedy Miller _ Again, that's _ Kennedy Miller _ Just don't throw no golf balls at me.
Yeah, they're gonna show up to the North. They're gonna show up to the games you coaching this week, throwing stuff at you. You said the Cowboys gonna go to the championship game. They make the playoffs. Lamar Gafford, my dog. Thank you so much once again hanging out with us, Lamar. Tell us where they can find you on social media, where they can find your work. Tell us all that good stuff so the good folks out there, and so those of us as well, Ken and myself, can support you, dog.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Lamar Gafford, all in one word. Once again, at Lamar Gafford. Find me on Instagram at primetimes2832. And you can also find my readings and writings on sinlabpreps.com. We are getting very, very close to Louisiana Football Championship Week, which will be next week in the Superdome. So you will get a chance to see a lot of our stuff on that as well. And also been doing some reviews about the different playoff rounds on this show called The Boot Breakdown. So get a chance to listen to all of those things there.
All right. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in tacos, S as in sangria, M as in margaritas. Don't forget, follow the Game Plan Podcast on our official Game Plan Podcast Instagram channel at _ the Game Plan Podcast. Again, on Instagram at _ the Game Plan Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the official Game Plan Podcast YouTube channel, where if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget, hit that like, share, subscribe, tell 10 friends to tell 10 more friends to tell 10 more friends about the Game Plan Podcast. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, we appreciate you guys so very much for listening. For Kennedy Miller and Lamar Gafford, my name is Alex Goodwin. This has been the Game Plan Podcast. We will see you guys next time. Take it easy.